boxing on Channel 5. Defending his name, his legacy, Harlem Eubank. Battling his way up the super lightweight rankings. Can he remain undefeated? Big Fight Live, Eubank versus Uruzquieta, Friday at 10 on Channel 5.
Razaban IFL TV, proudly sponsored by Everlast. Delighted to be here for my first time, Boxer HQ. With me, Ben Shalom. Ben, firstly, thank you for having me here. How are we doing?
Very well. Obviously, busy weekend, so it's sometimes good. The week after, in the office after an event is a good week because you've not usually not got an event back to back. Means you can get in and plan, and it's a good week.
Ben, I know obviously yourself based in Manchester. A lot of members of your team are actually based in the north. What was kind of the reason behind having a kind of a HQ and office down here in London?
You know what? I have resisted moving down for so long. I still have. I still go back every weekend. But it's just that everything's down here. Broadcasters, sponsors, it's most of the team, and so reluctantly we have to work from down here now. But yeah, I still live in Manchester.
I love the way you use the word reluctantly. What's so bad about London?
You know what? I think it's the same with anyone from the north or from different places. It's too much London, and I think by the time you leave, I think you're happy to leave. It's just too every time I come down here and have a week down here, I'm glad to get home, and I wouldn't want to be down here permanently. I think it's different if you're from London, but yeah, for me, I'm a Manchester guy, so that's what it is.
Well, your last show was in Manchester. Your newest signing, Lawrence Okolie, made his debut with Boxer and returned to Sky Sports. Overall assessment of Lawrence on Saturday night?
Look, he will be disappointed, and I said that on the night. He wanted to make a statement. He wanted to make a knockout, and he sort of made the headlines for the wrong reasons. He'll see. He still made the headlines, but made the headlines without the statement that he wanted. But 30 months out the ring, it was never the opponent that we wanted. It was a mandatory. We didn't necessarily plan for it, and it was always going to be a tough guy, a tough night against a tough guy. And everyone that I spoke to, because we didn't know too much about him, said he's going to have to do a lot to knock David Light out. Never seen it in sparring, never seen it anywhere, and he did. And I thought he got him out of there 3 times. But as I say, main thing is he's still world champion. Main thing is he gets through that, so we can now see the fights that we want to see. And as a fan, that was always the plan. We sign fighters that we think we have the fights for, that we can deliver for, that we can make the big nights with, and Lawrence is the star of the cruiserweight division. There's some big nights to come. So yeah, for me, yeah, it wasn't what he wanted, but as I say, it sets up everything, and that was the main thing.
He was quite critical of himself after the fight and the post-fight kind of press conference that we did. He's done some stuff on Sky as well where he spoke about, his performance and kind of wanted to almost showcase, come back and knock the opponent out, almost the best way for someone like Cody. So how's his mind frame and kind of state at the moment after all of that?
Listen, he is unbelievable. Like, it doesn't faze him. He feels he's born to do it. He's a world champion for a reason, and he's just straight away he's out and he's calling people out. And I think, incredible in the media. It doesn't let him affect him. And for him, I felt sorry for him in a way that he was never meant to headline on his first fight. That was, his mandatory was going to go on the Taylor Catterall undercard, and he was going to have a nice sort of a back active fight. And then we couldn't even get him out in London, which is where he wanted to headline, because of the clashes and this and that. Didn't want to clash. Ends up headlining in Manchester, where he's got no connection to whatsoever, in the toughest fight that was never going to be absolutely bang on pretty for him. And yeah, so I felt like he had the cards stacked against him that we never expected at the start. We had to put on the complete show that was never intended for there. That was pretty much the Taylor Catterall undercard on a show in Manchester, no connection to it. And so yeah, I think, to be honest, there was a lot that he had to deal with, and the pressure, and not making excuses, but the scrutiny, the change of trainer, the change of everything, the change of broadcaster. That's a lot of changes for a fighter at that stage of his career, and the first fight being a world title defence. Couldn't have any more pressure. If in terms of one false move, one few bad rounds, and he's lost his world title. So look, it wasn't the statement performance, it wasn't what he wanted, but because of how much he'll now learn about where his fitness is at, all that, if as selfishly, not as a fan, selfishly, for him to have that moment and have those 12 rounds and have that scrutiny in this fight means that he's now ready for the fights to come, and it was always about just getting through.
Well, let's not dwell too much on the past and look forward to the future. He did obviously an interview on Sky, as I mentioned, and he clearly said he's ready for Riakporhe next. Yeah. He clearly said that Chris Smith, who has a date, I believe May 27th in Bournemouth, he'll happily jump in. So with Chris Smith's opponent yet to be announced, we're not sure yet. What is the situation? What is the play? And what are you going to do?
Look, press conference Tuesday. They all want to fight each other. They've all said that. It's just literally deciding who's who. We think we've decided now, and it's exciting because it's what the fans want to see. And as a fight fan, that's why you get excited. And there's so many hidden storylines between Chris, between Richard, between Lawrence, and the other world titles as well. Yeah, it's exciting. And as I say, Lawrence got through a night that was very difficult that now creates something very special. Bilham Smith has had his night against Isaac Chamberlain, has had that December knockout that no one saw coming, has had Richard Riakporhe's developed incredibly from when we first seen him to now pretty much being able to deliver him a world title fight. That's one of our proudest achievements, Richard Riakporhe, and he'll be looking at his big night with Lawrence Okolie as well. So yeah, it's all three of them are poised now for world titles for each other, and yeah, we'll announce on Tuesday what's next.
When you say Tuesday, is that referring to who's Chris Bilham Smith's next opponent?
Correct. Yeah. What the next fight is in that sort of triangle.
Anything else you can give me before Tuesday?
No, I think as I say, what's good about Tuesday is every fighter is signed up to fight everyone. So it's like you for the first time for me as a boxing fan, I know what fights I'm going to get. I know if he beats him, I'm going to get that. I know if he loses him, I'm going to get that. And that's always what you want in boxing. Sometimes what you can't do, and if you don't have all the fighters, you can't do that. And so yeah, it's good for Lawrence, for Richard and Chris. They're getting what they wanted, which was they all want to fight for a world title. They all want to take that and have that chance. They're all going to get it, and that's a great feeling.
Okay, we'll look forward to the press conference on Tuesday. Strong rumours across social media platforms, and I believe there'll be an announcement tomorrow actually, that Jack Catterall has left Boxer and will be joining Matchroom Boxing. Could you just make any comments on obviously how that relationship ended, why did it end, and kind of what was your role in did you want to keep Jack or not keep Jack, etc.?
Look, it was difficult. Jack's a friend, and we wanted to make the Taylor fight for him after what happened. I wasn't even his promoter last night. That night I was just couldn't believe what went on, and so we tried, and we managed to get him as a free agent to try and get that fight, and for whatever reason Josh has decided to fight Teofimo, and for us he spent that long out the ring. We can hold on to people if we think it, but if it's not right for them, and I hope this goes across the board, and I hope every promoter could see how we behave in this situation, because anyone can be difficult in situations like this. If you can't, or if your fighter can't be a priority, for whatever reason, we do what our broadcaster wants. Every promoter wants to deliver for their broadcaster, and the broadcaster has certain priorities. And it got to the stage where as I say, for us, Josh Taylor was the fight, and for me, he needs to be active, Jack. He has to be active, and he has to get his opportunities and hopefully achieve what he should have achieved 12 months ago, 18 months ago now. It's ridiculous how inactive he is, and yeah, anyone to go what he's gone through and then not even get the rematch at the right time. Hopefully one day he will, but yeah, for us it's about activity, and we would never hold a fighter back from activity.
Ultimately, did you try to retain him? Did you try to look at solutions on potential fights? And we know he wants those biggest fights out there. So was it about not being able to get those biggest fights for him?
It's more money, if I'm honest. we have a limited budget. We have to spend it in the areas that we can, and it's finite. And we've signed a lot of fighters on different. We signed Jack for the Josh Taylor fight, so when that comes, then we have to make a completely different decision. Are we the best place for Jack outside of that Josh Taylor fight? And money and budgets mean every promoter has to focus on the fighters that they've got plans for, that the broadcaster has plans for, and that's what it comes down to sometimes. And we've made a lot of signings recently that require a lot of attention, and if someone else can give proper attention, proper activity to certain fighters, and it will always depend on, as I say, budgets, priorities of the broadcaster, things like that. And that's why I think boxing can be a great place. There's so much competition now for fighters from different broadcasters that there's always a home if people are sensible. You don't need to leave fighters on a shelf if they can go and get work elsewhere, and that's all it is. And I want the best for Jack, and I want him to get active, and he's had a difficult career so far.
Ultimately, have you kind of mutually agreed to kind of terminate, but still on good terms? We've obviously seen when Eddie Hearn and Okolie kind of split, there was a lot of back and forth, a lot of bad talk between both. So are you still on good terms?
As soon as a fighter doesn't want to be, or it's not even that actually, he wanted us to say we're going to fight him this month, and then we're going to fight him, and then we've got this big fight, and then we've got that. We can't. We are focused on other things because it's commitments we've already made. And as I say, Josh Taylor was our commitment, and for whatever reason that will work itself out. But yeah, no, I want the best for Jack. And as soon as there's an opportunity for any fighter, if we can't do what we want to do, or we don't have the time and the resource, then never stand in the way. And I actually got to know Jack and the people around him, and he's a top boy, and I really desperately hope he succeeds.
Another rumour stated online, Sonny Edwards, another fighter, looking to move to Matchroom. Again, there's a press conference tomorrow before the Joshua weigh-in, so I'm surely these two fighters, Jack and Sonny, they're the rumours that will be announced tomorrow. So what do you make of Sonny joining Matchroom?
Yeah, I mean, with Pro Bellum, I think, and yeah, fair enough. I think, to be honest, there's a lot of movement right now, a lot of things going on, and good luck to him, good luck to every fighter. I think Sonny's an unbelievable fighter and just needs activity and just needs the right platform, which he's always probably never had. So yeah, good on him, and hopefully he gets the fights that we've been waiting for, the unifications, and hopefully he gets that.
Just moving away, I pestered you with this question last week. Chris Eubank Jr. and Liam Smith, when are we expecting it? You did say to me that it was close, it was done, you had a deal with Wasserman. Just explain. So he had a date to initiate and activate the rematch clause. They did that. Now there's talks about Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn, which we'll come to. Liam Smith was very frustrated last week because he wants a date as well. He mentioned your name and said, I'm going to get my team on Ben, Shalom and Boxer to get my date sorted. How long do Wasserman have, if they've activated that rematch clause, to initiate then the fight?
Yeah, so when you have we never actually wanted the rematch. We wanted to move on. But before we did the fight, we had to agree to one. I think everyone remembers that. It was like, why? I remember Liam's, why have you got a rematch clause, this and that, if you're so confident, 50%. And we had to do it, and then we got the notification that the rematch clause had been activated, and that means all the terms have been activated. It's already contracted. So that means we then have to go to Liam and activate his terms and option, and it means that we couldn't do any other thing with Liam. This was the next fight. This is what we have to do. I think we have to deliver the fight. I'm not going to go into confidential details, but within a certain time frame, we've communicated when that's going to be. And we're confused a little bit by the situation because we were the ones that told we have to deliver the rematch. And so, in our eyes, that's what's going to happen. Obviously, when there's big money involved and big offers to certain fighters, they're going to look to make maybe there's deals that can be done, and that's what happens in boxing sometimes. But as I say, we didn't put in the rematch clause. We didn't activate the rematch. We're just the ones that have to deliver it, and that's how we got Liam Smith the opportunity in the first place.
So when Eddie Hearn comes out and says that Chris Eubank Jr. can earn 2 or 3 times the amount fighting Conor Benn in Abu Dhabi, June the 3rd. That's the touted date. The talk was Pacquiao, Broner, Brook, but it looks like now it's Chris Eubank Jr. So what happens on your side now? Those are the strong rumours. Are you now going back to Wasserman and saying what is going on? Because those rumours are very strong. What's your play in this?
That's exactly what we're saying. I leave it to my team, to be honest, stuff like that. And they'll just work out what's going on. And yeah, I think it's a question for Wasserman. And they're the ones with a contract with Eubank. We don't have a contract with Eubank. We were just told contractually we have to deliver the rematch. So let's see. Look, things change every day. So it's like one day we might be talking about this fight, then the next day we're talking about another fight and another opportunity. So yeah, let's see. And yeah, hopefully things work out.
A lot of people in the sport boxing not happy with the fact that Conor Benn is going to fight abroad. Everyone wants Conor Benn to go through the process and obviously clear his name with the board, with UCAD. Further, people are now saying if Chris Eubank Jr. goes and fights, he shouldn't be doing that. He should be protecting the principles of boxing. The board have come out and said they're not going to allow Chris Eubank to fight on his British licence. Obviously, he could just go and fight on an overseas licence, but it's getting quite complicated, and it seems like there's a lot of loopholes that people are trying to find to have these fights in a different territory.
You know what? When I first came into the sport, even way before the Sky deal, I promised myself, and it's so difficult, I always remain a fan and not to get involved, and I found myself getting involved and being goaded and when I'm being brought into conversation I don't want to be in, and I'm sometimes thinking, how... That's not what you want to do. But for something like this, for me, the fact that this is even a consideration and people think that this is a bit of a laugh and a joke, and I'm not again pointing fingers, it's just the fact of the matter is, how can a fighter that's failed drugs tests just find a way to not be punished and then go and fight where anyone else? And maybe he doesn't need to be punished. Maybe there is a reason. But this is the one sport I can think of, if it is even a sport anymore, the one sport, look at cycling, Lance Armstrong. Do you think if a runner in Beijing can be disqualified or have something and then can go and fight in Paris 4 years later because it's in a different place? This is ridiculous. And I think we live in a global world now, and this is exposing the sport for everything that it is. Whoever's trying to push it, for me, is completely wrong and makes a mockery of the sport. That's one. That's whoever's... And it was the same on the week and the fight week when it was like, how do we find a way around the board's ruling? This is just this, exactly the same, but this much time later, and we're seeing exactly how it plays out. And yes, money's big and it's hard to resist, and that's where you need a sport. There has to be a world governing body of some description, whether it's to cover health and safety, drug cheats, all that stuff. If you don't have that, then you can forget it. Why would a fighter that's thinking, look at the drug problems we've had in US boxing, why would a fighter see this situation? They're going to be encouraged, never mind discouraged, because if something happens, then they can just go and fight somewhere else. We're in a global world, all on the same time zone, and I think the broadcasters are probably the ones that need to be like, we're doing a lot of good for the sport and we're investing in the sport, but this is a step too far because it's 2 UK fighters, let's make no mistake about it, on a UK time zone via UK broadcasters. It's unbelievable how little anyone wants to care. And fair enough, it do numbers and this and that, and maybe because it is a bit of a freak show now because of the whole situation. But yeah, I think nothing against Conor. He might well be innocent, but how is this the right thing to do? But even saying that, it's just screaming now for a world governing body. Screaming like this is so ridiculous. I don't even know what is. It's crazy that we're even in this position and people think it's normal. That's probably shows how far the sport has come now, to the edge of just craziness where anything goes, that this can happen. And it's pretty dark, actually. It is pretty dark.
So ultimately, if Chris Eubank Jr. did fight Conor Benn, you would be upset, for the sake of the sport of boxing, that Chris has decided to just relinquish maybe his license or just move away from the board's guidance and have that fight with Conor Benn?
It shouldn't be left in Chris Eubank Jr.'s hands to decide what's safe for the sport and what's right for the sport. He's there to make a living, and he was the one that trained 8 weeks or 12 weeks, getting down to a weight he should have never been at for a fight that never happened, in a fight that he could have really had a problem with. So don't leave the decision of what's right for boxing in a fighter's hands. That's nothing to do with Eubank, and he should do whatever's best for him. The fact that it can even get to this stage, and the fact that there isn't an authority to stop it from happening. How can someone not go through due process after that? How can you not go through a process? And just unbelievable, genuinely unbelievable. I'm smiling because it's so crazy. And it's almost like normal now. It's become normalised in sport of boxing, and people used to talk so badly in boxing about drug cheats all the time. And I'm not, again, don't know if Conor is, but he's not been through a process. So how are we then now at this stage in 2023, where it's now normal? Weird.
Colin Hart, Gareth A. Davis and others spoke about the same thing. We need a world boxing kind of organisation, a committee. How does that even work though, Ben?
First of all, the British Boxing Board of Control, whatever things might be saying about them, are probably the most, or if not one of the most, but the most respected governing body medically in the whole world. So if they're saying something, the rest of the commission should follow. And I know a lot of the highly respected ones in Europe and in North America will do that. All it takes is one place. They could go and do it in Mongolia or wherever. It doesn't matter where it is when it's broadcasted and the country's paying for it. It happens by all the governing bodies signing up to a thing, all the commissions, and it's not hard. It's not controversial to sign up for drug testing and to sign up for medicals and how things are going to be run from that perspective. Not difficult at all, and probably British Board are probably one of the best places to lead it from. They're a leading authority in that field. So yeah, look, I'd be amazed if, and I'm probably going to regret saying this, if this actually goes, and also very concerned. I think as a fan, it just brings everything into question. Can you imagine the media attention and what people will be saying and what people will be asking? That's the sport. No other sport you'd even dream of it.
Well, we look forward to the next couple of days, Ben, if it does get announced, because June 3rd is not far away. Just before I finish, obviously I know you've got Poland coming up, then you've got obviously Boatsi, obviously Tyler Denny's obviously been announced for that as well. You've got Bilham Smith 27, Adam on the 10th, York Hall. Any further shows?
Yes, big news for Savannah Marshall next week. Massive fight. So we can announce that. Obviously Chris Bilham Smith as well. Adam Azim's opponent, which just shows where we're going with him, level that we're going to. Callum Simpson will be back out. We're just amazed as Ben Whittaker's back. Fraser Clark back out. Caroline Dubois back in Poland as well with Babic, and should be doing a press conference soon, I think. It's going to be a busy few weeks. And Tyler Denny has got an absolute dream homecoming in Birmingham, and it reminds me of obviously Tyler's lost a few times, but Tyler reminds me a bit of the Dan Aziz story, but he's had to do it even more around the houses and had losses. So massive homecoming for him with Ben Whittaker on that card, and obviously topped by Joshua Boatsi. But yeah, it's going to be a few good fights to be announced next week, and a busy schedule. And actually looking forward to AJ this weekend, who's looking in a different mind frame, and that's always good for boxing, because he really was the one that set the fire. For me, he was the one that really exploded British boxing, and it's good to see him back and actually really looks good with Derek James. Looks like he's in the zone. Obviously, the talking will have to be done in the ring, but it's good to see the AJ that we all know back and excited about, and that's what we want. That's what I get excited about as a fan. I sometimes forget that when you're so involved, it's hard to remember why you got involved. And I'm just trying to enjoy that now. And yeah, Anthony Joshua this weekend is a big success story for British boxing, regardless of who he's fighting and what. The fact that he's back with all that money in the bank when he doesn't need to fight, he's back on Saturday night, and I think it'll be a good show.
Ben, appreciate your time as always, and yeah, we'll see you Tuesday at the Chris Billum-Smith press conference.
Cheers, bro. Thank you.
Ben Shalom, IFL TV, thank you very much.
Win it, they're guilt wins. Right, the bouncer's guilt wins.
This is no good for me. That's the reality. If you want the honest truth, and I see it every day,